What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Skeptics Podcast. This will be episode number 11, and this is Dylan Turley, and with the other host,
John Reeves.
And I hope y'all are having a great day. How are you doing this morning, John?
Doing all right.
You got anything that's been interesting going on in your life, especially since you woke up today, so probably 4 hours ago?
Today? No, not really. Pretty normal day.
So, I actually got back from vacation. This would have been last week starting now, and had a great vacation. We went out to New Mexico, me and my wife and the rest of my family, and where there's no cell phone signal. And I will tell you that I think everybody needs to do that at least once a year, to where you just get out and there's nothing. So and the temptation after like the second day is you don't even want to look at this thing anymore.
Right.
Like, it's just gone.
Yeah.
And then everything. I had so much fun with Cammie. I had so much fun with my grandparents, my cousin Rhett, and my mom. It was awesome. And you don't have to ever think about this. And granted, we do a podcast, so we try to keep up with a lot of news and everything. But I'm not saying don't look at the news. Look at the news, I think. Now, get it from multiple sources now, because mainstream media, we've already discussed, it's probably not really the place you want to go. But we encourage people to stay up to date on a lot of things. But that doesn't mean every now and then go turn this thing off. So the unfortunate thing, though, was when we came back, me and Cammie had a trailer stolen out of our yard and 2 weed eaters. Mm-hmm. And after that, if you've ever had anything stolen, you have like a feeling that it's a different feeling. It's like you don't even really hate the people that do it. You feel so disrespected that right. Somebody was able to do that you just, like I said, you don't even want to really technically find the person. You just want to find your stuff. And me and this guy have been literally doing PI work, like straight up. We went to our neighbors. This is another reason why. Go talk to your neighbors, learn about your neighbors, be friends with your neighbors if possible. We talked about them, got some information from them, and then we went down to another neighbor, and they actually had cameras that was on their property. Now, it didn't go back all the way to the day that we left, and we were starting to get thinking that it was a little bit closer to when we left is when the trailer was stolen and the weed eaters. But anyway, we couldn't find them off that, but we just had a little information from everywhere. We literally went to the gas stations and talked to people about where do you think the sketchiest parts of town was. Most of the time we figured out with a lot of things that's stolen, it may not be somebody that you know, but it's somebody that knows of you.
Right.
Or it's somebody that you know that they know.
Right.
And not intentionally thinking that your friends are telling people to go rob your house, but it just might have come up in conversation, hey, I'm watching over my friend's house, and then it goes on to somebody else and somebody else and somebody else, and it figures out that way. So we literally searched the area. I mean, the best that we could, and probably the third day of us looking for the area, or looking for the stuff, we got to reading in the Bible about, we actually just kind of brought up, what should you do if someone steals your stuff? And I typed that into Google. In the Bible, what does it say if someone steals your stuff? And it popped up to a verse in Matthew that says something about turn the other cheek. And me and him had a really good discussion on what that means. And we also got, for our friend David Dinkins, the one that was on the podcast here with us, I got his opinion on a couple things. And also shout out to that guy. Everybody pray for that guy, because he's going through the ringer right now with some stuff. And he's a dadgum good guy, and I love the dude. But we were trying to figure out what it really means to turn the other cheek. And if you remember the conversation, what is it that you remember the most about the conversation?
The thing I remember the most would probably be me and you going back and forth on, like, to turn the other cheek. That's the main point. There's a few other main points that was made within those couple of verses, but it was that if somebody wrongs you, to just let it go, essentially.
Right. It said, there's to kind of dumb it all down, it pretty much said just pray for that individual.
Yeah, it was something along the lines of, like,
don't hate your enemy.
Yeah, don't Don't wrong them because they wronged you.
And I specifically remember it saying some part in there, something about eye for an eye. Like, that's not how it's supposed to be.
Well, so it's what they was referring to in the New Testament is the Old Testament, right? The old ways, the old laws were an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, etc., etc. I was reading about that recently, and they talk about, you know, if somebody steals one of your cows, then they owe you a cow or the cost of it, and it was like a little bit more. It was like some labor or something like that. That's what they owed you.
Right.
If you was going to go by the Old Testament. Whereas in the New Testament, it's like you need to turn a new leaf and leave it where it is.
And that's super hard.
Yeah.
I remember a bunch of times. There's been multiple moments in The Chosen. If y'all have ever watched that, it's a good pictation. Pictation, is that the word?
I know.
It's a good representation,
Yes.
I guess you would say. That's not the word I was looking for, but it's a good representation of the New Testament. Now, of course, there's some things in it that's different. It is for entertainment, but I think it is a very
Depiction.
good depiction of the show. And there's a bunch of different things that happens in that show to where it's like he's pretty much says turn the other leaf, and it doesn't matter. Like, in the end, it doesn't matter. I mean, he has to tell his disciples multiple times that the things you do here on earth doesn't matter if you are saved by me. He says it doesn't matter. He said you'll get all these stuff in the kingdom of God. So we kind of figured that out. So I've kind of lowered my search, but I'm interested in what people got to say about me doing that. And but the thing that I started thinking about a little bit deeper, and me and you never kind of got to this, I don't think, in the conversation, is what do you do if it's to if it's to somebody else? So say somebody, let's literally say the turn the other cheek method. Let's literally say that.
Yeah.
Some guy comes up to you wherever you are, and you get in you're just talking about stuff, and he disagrees with what you got to say, and he slaps you on the left cheek or whichever one it said.
Right.
And then you literally turn your other cheek to him and just say, "Slap on it. I forgive you for what you did." I think we all kind of understand that part. It's hard.
Right.
Very hard. What do you do if that's to somebody else? So say you're walking through Walmart, and you see a guy walk up and slap another guy. Because the turn the other cheek, I think, implies to the person that's getting slapped with their faith in God.
Yeah.
Because also as believers in God, he does ask for us to be protectors.
Yeah, and you got to think, so what they're implying or saying is two wrongs don't make a right in between these two individuals. Like, if he wrongs you and you wrong him back, then nobody won.
Right.
Whereas if somebody wrongs the other person, and they're the bigger man per se, then he wins that, because instead of taking it back out on the guy who wronged him, he rose above it. So if you're a bystander, though, if you're somebody who sees it, I don't know. I think there is something to be said for, like, standing up for people who can't for themselves, or if there is if you see something wrong happening, that you kind of have a obligation, if you can, to help them.
So in that case, let's say that I was really frustrated about my trailer situation.
Yeah.
But you were the one that was going to go find it.
Yeah.
And sorry, my nose just stopped up for some reason. You were the one that was going to go find it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, do you need to turn the other cheek to the situation, or is it good for probably you to try to go do that? That's a good question.
See, that one's a bit harder because it's not, I'm almost like a third party.
That's what I'm saying.
And so that's like an after fact. Like, if I was here whenever it was getting stole.
Well, in the same case of me, though.
Step in. Right.
Like I don't think even for the individual, turn the other cheek doesn't mean don't stand up for yourself.
Right.
Like if I walked out here and somebody was stealing my trailer,
Right.
then you probably need to confront them to try to not let them steal your trailer.
Right.
But after the fact's been done, like I used to talk, I think I was talking about this with Connor. This was a while ago. And I know I talk about it with my other buddies, but we were talking about one day if we'll all still be friends with each other, but we'll all have kids.
Right.
And if somebody ever messes with one of their kids, it's like, I feel like it should be, also, they should stick up for it, obviously.
Right.
But I think it's as well as the friend group and the rest of the family should also stick up for it in the same way. So you're standing up for yourself still, but you're also standing up for other people without the method of turning the cheek. Like if somebody messes with my kid, you should probably go confront them.
Right.
Now, granted, even if your kid turns the other cheek, which is probably a good thing. I mean, I've heard
Right.
multiple stories about multiple kids that gets bullied in school, and they just end up just not caring about it. And normally, that just deters the bully from even messing with them anymore. Now, granted, there is times that you should step up, but when is that time? Do you think? When is it when you're in high school and you get bullied so much that you should step up? Is that what God wants you to do? And when I mean step up, I don't mean you have to fight them.
Right.
Like,
right.
I don't mean like you just instantly go to violence versus it just being like, because at some point, I feel like you do have to like demand the respect there. You see where I'm going? I'm saying a lot of words here and I'm kind of going around in circles. I'm realizing that. But do you see where I'm going with it?
Yeah, I kind of think I see where you're going. I think it's almost a case-by-case kind of thing. It's hard to clump them all into one because they don't all hold the same value. Does that make sense? So, like, if something happens to your kid, that's going to be of greater value to you than a trailer being stolen.
But nobody's greater value than anybody else to God, though, and we're supposed to try to be like Him.
Right, but my point is if it's something that happens to an individual,
Mm-hmm.
not to your items, not to your belongings,
Right. No, I understand that part.
that's a different type of scenario.
Right.
Because if something happens to like your kid, it is your responsibility as their parent to step in.
You imagine like something happened to your kid. Like here's a good question, and I'm anxious for like fathers or mothers that's had kids. So anybody in the comments that does have kids, let us know. Is say your kid was getting bullied in school.
Yeah.
And you figure it out, and you go talk to your kid about it, and he literally says, "Don't worry about it, Dad. Turn the other cheek." But he's come back with like black eyes and stuff. Do you? I mean, you obviously probably raised a pretty good kid. If he literally comes back to
he
you
comes
and
back with
says,
that answer.
he comes back with that answer. But like, do you do anything?
Yeah.
Even if he comes back, he says,
Yes.
God says.
So that's between that kid and the other kid.
Okay.
Okay? So your kid turned the other cheek, he did the right thing. Now, it's your job as his caretaker, okay, to come in and make sure it doesn't continue to happen. And you have to trust that your Father, God, will take care of you when you go to do the right thing.
Oh no, I understand that. Yeah.
And so, he obviously isn't going to intervene every day in everybody's life. And so, he needs you to do your part too. Just like spread the gospel.
The distinguish between trying to tell you to do your part, though, is because I did know one kid in school that got picked on, and then his parents came up and tried to do something about it, and he got picked on even more because his parents were like, "Oh, you shouldn't have done this, mama this, and mama this." Now, I don't know how much you could really do. Like maybe you kick the whole kid out of school in general.
I mean, it just depends on the severity of the
But
situation. Like,
if
if your
I-
kid comes home with a black eye, that's battery.
No, I agree with you.
You can send that other person to juvenile.
Yeah, that's probably true. I've never seen that happen. Like, I mean, I've heard
Right.
seen a bunch of kids get in fights, but
Right.
I've never seen anybody actually. Only thing I've ever really seen happen bad was like they've got D-Hall or something. What if D-Hall's still a thing?
I don't know.
I don't ever hear about anybody get detention anymore.
Yeah, neither do I.
I have to ask. No, your brother's at school now, ain't he?
He's going to college.
Huh. I've never heard my little cousin ever get D-Hall either. Unless everybody's just perfect kids now. But or I wonder how many. Like, you think there's still a lot of fights that happens in school?
Probably not a lot. And I also will say, it depends on where you go.
Oh, that's for sure.
You know, if that's the norm,
Yeah.
and if there's a lot of kids who have dysfunctional families, and that's the way that they see things handled within their own family, that's how they're going to handle it when they show up to school.
Because I don't ever remember it, like, when I was in school, like, it being that big of a deal. Like I said, I knew a couple kids, but it was like, once you got past, like, the age of, like, 10, it was like, you just don't let that happen. Like,
Right.
there was a bunch of times it was that, luckily, the group of guys that I hang out with were guys that didn't do that kind of stuff. But it was, I mean, if you ever saw it happen, a lot of people would normally stop it. Like, even if you didn't know the person.
What if you heard about them fighting outside of school?
Oh, I heard about that all the time.
I knew two individuals, and they actually were related. But one of them cut the other one with a knife.
Yeah, that's like, that takes it to the next level.
That's wild.
Yeah, you probably need to be out of school.
But nothing happened.
But did anybody ever turn anybody in?
I don't think so. But here's what's crazy. Is the guy shows up with a bandage on his arm. You can see it. His arm's wrapped up in a huge bandage. He's got a knife cut from like here to here.
That's wild. Because I definitely remember, I don't know if it was like this when you were in school, and granted, we went to the same school. Everybody fought all the time at the river. That was like the place when I was in school. They were like, dude, let's go to the river and we'll fight each other. I think I went like one time and like two kids hit each other twice and they were done. Like that was the end of it. But I do remember that a bunch of times. But I also remember this: 9 out of 10 times they'd get done fighting and they'd just be buddies after that. I remember at basketball all the time. There was this one kid that was not in basketball and a friend of mine that was in basketball. And the friend of mine that was in basketball, this dude was scrappy, son. I mean, he was probably like 5'5". Dude could fight like nobody's business. Now, granted, he's nowhere near like that anymore. And he wasn't even mean that he was in school.
Right.
But it was at the level of, if you mess with me at all, we're about to box. And he knew he could fight. And he fought this one kid at the river, and I remember we were sitting in our little pizza joint that was in Payburn, and they both came in with each other right after that. One of them had like a little bloody nose and everything, and they were buddies. They were like, yeah, I said something stupid. The one guy even told me, he straight up said, I lost. Like, bad. And I was like...
See, I never went to any of that.
Well, no, I'm not at it. I'm at Pizza.
I know, but I'm
Pizza
saying,
Pro.
like, I never even went to one of those.
Oh, yeah, I went to one for like 5 seconds, and like I said, they both hit each other twice,
Yeah.
clock, and they were like, this is stupid.
The only other thing, so like I would like just walk up upon one. So like
I never did that much.
you never. So like there was a few that happened in the cafeteria. Those were legendary. One guy got beat up. That was next level. And then the ones in the bathrooms, like you just walk in and there's like one guy body slamming another guy, and you're like, well, this is something.
I've never seen a fight in the bathroom, believe it or not.
Really?
Ever.
Oh my gosh. That was like the quick, let's just go scrap this out real fast.
In the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
In like high school?
Oh yeah. Tile floor getting body slammed, I couldn't imagine. My goodness. I seen it too. Kid got picked up and just dropped.
Stoned.
I'm like, I was just trying to go pee, guys.
You're sitting there peeing, they're pushing you into the urinal. You're like, hey, man, can you hold up for 1 minute? I'm like, I'm just trying to take a leak here. There's that one thing that we keep been saying lately. There's that one guy that's back. Hit a little lower, Bill.
Hit a little lower, Bill.
We're sitting there fighting each other. Oh, shoot. Yeah, I didn't, there was not many fights. I've only been in one fight my whole life.
Yeah.
And it was just like a spur of the moment because a kid was messing with my brother. And I think I've got maybe 6 hits off on him. And then I ended up going saying sorry to the guy, and the guy said sorry to me. Like, it was just a heat of the moment kind of thing.
Right.
And I don't have any bad feelings towards the guy whatsoever. But, I mean, I don't even think my brother does anymore. He was just like, we were young, some guy pushed me, and then all of a sudden my brother comes out of nowhere. And, I don't remember where I hit the dude. It might have just been the ugliest looking swings I've ever in my life. I cannot fight by any means. So, but then, yeah, right after that, I was like, dude, sorry it had to happen. And he came up to me. He's like, I'm sorry. That's it. We were buddies after that.
So let's tie that back in. So, with that mentality, where does that play into the whole turn the other cheek situation?
Well,
imagine this for a second.
Yeah,
we find the trailer. You pull up. You're like, hey, bro.
That's my trailer.
That's my freaking trailer.
Bill, that's my trailer.
And he's like, no, it's not. It's my trailer.
Yeah.
And you're like, let's take this outside. And you scrap for a second. And you're like, all right, you won. That's your trailer. You know what I'm saying? It's just like.
That would actually be wild. You fight the guy, and then he beats you, and you're like, you can keep my trailer. Definitely don't think it works like that.
What are you gonna do? You get beat up, and you're like, I'm still taking that trailer.
Well, technically, this is a good position to go to the cops and say, hey, this guy beat me up, and he's got my trailer.
You better make sure you don't have cameras. You pull up, hey man.
You think you would get in trouble for that? Because I'm not initially even starting the fight. I'm just pulling up and I'm saying, hey, man, I know that's my trailer. I'm looking at it right there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get my trailer back. And the dude's like, well, we're going to fight for it. And then we start fighting each other.
I'm saying you fight for it. You're the one who's like, hey, I'm leaving with that trailer. Let's duke this out.
I wouldn't even say that. I would just say, I'm leaving with this trailer. That's not me initiating anything. It's just saying, that's my trailer.
If you find it, though, would you not?
Is it stealing if you steal it back from the person that stole you?
Theoretically, it depends on the grounds in which you steal it. If it's under the umbrella of what I call stealing, so you sneak up there while he's gone and steal it back, that's stealing.
But it literally says your name on the side.
It's the definition, though. By definition, you stole it back. I think what we need to focus on is how wrong is that. Well, if it was yours, I think you're all right. But
what's
definitely still stealing.
What would be the best case scenario if you found the trailer? Case scenario? Let me give you 3 options here. And we're saying best case scenario if the guy does not imply that it's your trailer.
Right.
Okay, so first scenario, you go up there and you say, hey man, that's my trailer. And he says, that's not your trailer. That's how we're starting this conversation. So a couple things you can do. Go to the police and say, I guarantee that's my trailer. And they try to go check it out. You try to take the trailer back. So it's like when he's gone or something, you pull up in there, hook up, you leave, take the trailer. You tell the guy, hey man, I know that's my trailer. If it's not back to my house tonight, I'm going to call the police. Now granted, I feel like that's very, very sketchy. Because he just disappeared after that with the trailer.
Right.
Number 4, you tell him, that's my trailer. If you don't have it back tonight, I'm going to come shoot your house up. like just something to where it threatens him.
Yeah.
Because I know a guy that did that, and he brought the trailer back. So out of all those 4, which one do you think is the most likeliest one for him to allow you to take the trailer back? Obviously, going to the police is probably the best one.
Going to the police should be your number 1 option.
It's saying, hey,
just to that'll be your easiest bet.
What if the police are like, we cannot prove that trailer's not yours, but you know, God's telling you in your heart that that's your trailer, and you know it. You get gut feelings. Yeah. I get gut feelings.
Yeah.
And you know it. What do you do? I guess there's always another option. You could try to buy the trailer back. I guess. That's tough, but I'd almost let him keep the trailer than buy the trailer back. That just feels like more disrespect. I don't know if that's right, but that just feels like it to me. You took my trailer and now you're going to make me buy it back?
Yeah, I don't like that option. I'd say your best choice, or smartest, I should say, would be to get the police involved first. But if you don't like that answer, the second best would to be, hey, I know you stole that. Or maybe you didn't steal it. Maybe somebody else stole it and you bought it off a guy who stole it.
Yeah.
But I know that's mine.
If it was a guy that we already talked about this. If I saw somebody driving down the road with that trailer and I pulled up on him and I said, "Hey man," I said, "I hate to tell you this, but I think that's my trailer." If they said, "Well, I bought it from this guy," and it was like I got the bill of sale and everything here, I don't know if I would actually ask for the trailer back because it's already been bought to some guy. Now somebody else is involved and they would have lost money on it.
Right.
But I would hope that the guy that bought it would give me the information on who it was. Because when in doubt, even if I'm not saying go sabotage their house or something like that.
Right.
But you can at least give it to the police and say, "Hey man, keep this guy on your radar from now on. He stole my trailer. It's been confirmed he stole my trailer, but this guy's got my trailer.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to let him have it."
Right.
Because he's already lost money in it too. So it'd be very hard to get to the situation before somebody else gets involved.
Right.
But hopefully you can. So
especially like as more time passes. So like a whole week later, man, it's going to be even harder to try and like go off, because like a lot of my stuff happens in the moment, reactionary feelings, when it's my gut feeling. And so it's going to be a lot harder to know for certain in your gut, as well as having the ability to find and prove. Because what if the trailer trades hands 3 times in a week? One guy steals it, gives it to another guy,
sells it to another guy.
who's a like guy who resells theft items,
Right.
and then he sells it. Now it's traded hands 3 times before you even have looked for the initial thief.
Do you think as me and you are, do you think that it should be encouraged to go look for your stuff?
I think it depends. If it's an item that you cannot see from the road, probably not. Like if they stole your TV, definitely don't need to be looking in windows.
No, yeah, that's for sure.
Like
that's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, if someone's, I understand what you're saying. If someone stole something really little, that you'd really have to invade people's privacy.
Right.
To get it.
That's not going to be good, because now you're invading people who don't deserve its privacy in search of who actually stole it.
Too bad citizens can't get search warrants. I think though, is there anything that we could have done different that would have maybe get us a different hand? Because one thing that I'm not a private investigator, but I would say that we did a very good job for 2 guys that have never done anything like this before.
Yeah.
I mean, we literally went, talked to neighbors, got camera footage, talked to literally just almost a lot of people in the town that know a lot of people.
Right.
We literally searched the 2 sketchiest areas in the place around my town.
Yeah.
I feel like that's good skills for every citizen to know. Because imagine, let's take it to the next level, and I hate for this to happen to anybody, but someone takes your kid.
Right.
And now you have deep down that you have the ability to somewhat start searching for that.
Right.
Like what's the steps that you would go? For one, I hate that we live in this kind of world, and I'm noticing it now because my junk was stolen, but you should probably have cameras on everything. That's just guaranteed at this point. Like, you should have a camera at your door. You should have a camera on 2 sides of your house. You should have a camera somewhere to where if somebody does pull in your house, you can get a backside shot of their vehicle so you can get a license plate number. That's stuff that's all about to go up at my house right now. So, okay, let's turn the tables here. How, if say you have not bought a house yet, say you bought a house, what would you do to your house that you think would deter criminals?
There's a few easy things that they say to do. One is to get a security system sign. You don't even have the system, just a sign.
Just a sign.
that'll prevent. It was something that crazy like 65%
Yep.
of people because they see that sign. Also, famous saying, uh, locks are only to keep honest people honest. I've never exactly understood that because like they're obviously not honest if they're coming to thieve my stuff.
Right, right.
Besides the point, so like easy stuff like keeping things out of sight, making it look clean and not like an easy target, where there's things that are put away, or they all have like a very specific place, and they're never moved from that spot, so that as soon as it's gone, you notice it. But still, I would say keeping things out of sight is probably your best bet. Use deadbolts. That's something that has happened to my family. Just locking the knob, you think, oh, I'm good to go. Man, they pried our door open very easily.
It's a lot easier to kick a door open than you think it is.
Just pry it open.
Yeah.
Like, you could see a cut in our, what is that called?
Screen
like,
door?
No, it's like a seal that's around the door. And you could see where a knife had went in at an angle and pried the latch back so they could just pull the door open. Stuff like using a deadbolt, that's pretty important. Or if there's any way you could like make the door jamb tighter, now that's some like more next level stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously cameras, and here's one that people don't think about, dude. Game cameras are next level. I love using game cameras as security cameras because I can put them in trees.
Yeah.
That are watching like the front of the driveway. I can put them up on the eave of a building, right up in the center. Especially if your building is not a particular color. If it's just like wood, like a shed, boom, it makes it so much harder to see that, but it's watching.
Right.
That's something we like, and then you can take that to the next level. I mean, you can have them with SD cards, make them high where people can't reach them, or have them where it just sends you pictures. That's something we've done, and make it obvious even if you want to. We took 2 cameras, send pictures straight to your phone, pictures and video.
Yeah.
And we angled one going one way of the driveway, one going the other way. And we took and just drove a T-post in the ground and wire tied them to it.
Yeah.
As soon as you pull up, you're like, oh crap, there's 2 cameras with antennas sending that picture off.
And you know what's hilarious is the more we talk about this kind of stuff is me and you and a lot of other prepared citizens are figuring out how to get through all this stuff. You realize that? Like, we just literally watched a video from Grand Thumb on how to evade a drone. Like,
well, I think that's funny too. Is like, think about, how I made my shop door more secured? One day I went to close it and it didn't want to latch good, and so I always check to make sure my door is like shut good.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I shoulder check it.
Yeah.
Like the whole building shakes when I ram into it, and that door blew open. I blew the door open, and I'm like, oh, obviously if I can do that, anybody can kick that door open.
For sure.
So I took and modified the door frame so that, dude, you can hit that thing hard. You're going to have like a device, like a battering ram.
Right.
Something to really like break the door. Because you as an individual, unless you're like 7 foot tall, weigh 450 pounds. I don't think you're running through that thing.
Probably not. I mean, I just put a deadbolt on a building that we got out here, and that deadbolt's a heavy deadbolt. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I think another thing that a lot of people, I was watching TikTok, out of everything, it was a TikTok video about this. It was talking about the screws that you put in, like, your door locks and everything. Like the little hinge piece that goes on the wall and then your door frame.
Yeah.
They're like this big.
Yeah.
They're like little tiny things. Why not just put one in there that's like that big? I mean, think about how much more that does for it, because it's got so much more material to stop against.
Part of it has to do with the countersink of the screw.
Yeah.
It's got to be able to seat so that the door can get past it, obviously.
Yeah. But I remember I watched a video on that, and some dude, all he did on his house was just change out all the screws in the thing and just put longer wood screws in there. And anyway, he'd done the same test, and a lot of stuff he couldn't get through anymore. Because them small screws, if they're like this long, all they got to do is just and they just pop out to the side of the door. Versus those big long ones like this, now you're going, 2 inches into the side of the wall?
Yeah, but you got to think also what that thing is connected to. What your door jamb is connected to.
Oh, yeah, if it's some flimsy piece of metal or something.
Well, let's say you have a 1-inch piece of wood that's framed out.
Yeah.
And that's all there is. Well, then running that bigger screw in there is not going to do anything but possibly crack your board.
I still think that'd be harder than busting through one little tiny screw, though.
Now, I've got those tiny screws, and like I said, I modified that actual metal plate, and it's stout.
See, that one in there, I had the one that I just put in, the deadbolt.
Yeah.
I put the little hinge piece, or the little piece where the deadbolt actually goes into in the actual wall. Mm-hmm. And I took the little screw, and I screwed it in there. Next thing I know, it, what's the word? It just keeps going. Not strip. Well, you can't strip a wood screw, but
right. But I see.
It strips the wood.
Yeah, the material itself.
Yeah. So anyway, I took that thing out, went and got those bad gum 2-inch ones, and drove them in there. And I'm talking thing is solid now.
Right.
So now you got to try to kick through another 2-inch screw. Now, if your wall can even hold that, you might have something back there to where it's like you can't drill a 2-inch screw into the thing.
Well, yeah, and be careful. Like if anybody's listening to this, there's a lot of homes that have electrical boxes right next to it.
Drill right into that thing, man.
No. Be careful. So if you're going to go modifying your stuff, know where your electrical lines
be sure to check.
Just saying.
Or you have a scenario like mine and you're trying to put lights in your bedroom and all your electrical is run down for some reason instead of up through the attic. So you got to just take a saw and modify your wall.
Yeah.
So it's tough, but yeah, so
but once again, all of that is only going to deter a thief who's like,
right, they're going to get in your house if they want to get in your house.
Right. We're talking about people who are looking for a quick, easy snatch and grab.
That's the big thing, what you just said there. Don't make it quick and easy.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing.
The
so
more time you can get them to try to work on your junk, the more time that their heart rate's going to go through the roof.
Well,
and they just,
the longer that they're sitting there exposed.
Yes, exactly.
That exposure time is what really, I think, deters people. So like us, it's as simple as taking a chain, wrapping it through the tongues of your trailers.
Yeah.
And locking it. And then putting trailer locks on there. So it's not impossible. Obviously, you can get through that, but it's very
like you can bolt cut all that stuff, but it takes a long time to
some of those locks they make now are like they're harder than hell to cut with bolt cutters. You're gonna have to be crazy strong.
Really?
But a grinder, sometimes works. I did watch. They have a new lock out for like motorcycle guys that goes on the front wheel that keeps it for. It's almost like its own brake to keep it from being able to rotate. And I watched a video where it literally like chewed through 5 grinding discs or cut off wheels before it finally was cut.
Dang.
So they've got some stuff out there that's supposed to help.
Yeah.
But once again, if they want it bad enough, they're going to get it.
Yeah, they'll break windows or any of that stuff.
I mean, they'll break the whole wheel off.
Oh yeah.
I've seen stuff like that.
You not remember what our neighbor was telling us? Didn't he said something like that? They were dragging it.
Oh yeah. They tried punching out his ignition lock.
Yeah.
With a punch and stuff.
It's crazy,
so
man.
They just picked up a 250-pound bike and carried it off.
Yeah. As he said, there's criminals everywhere.
Yeah.
That was great. We asked him if there's any sketchy areas right here. He said, there's one here, there's one here, there's one here, there's criminals everywhere.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I live right on the road, so it's pretty easy to people to get stuff in and out.
So that's something else.
Get you a scary looking dog.
Well, I mean, what if your dog ain't there though? Like you take
like me, I wasn't even there. Yeah.
So in that situation, you need to put it outside of prying eyes. So if you do live on a public space,
that's hard to do sometimes depending on your property.
It can be very hard. So, but that's something to consider.
Yeah. Or just make it, like you said, just so hard to mess with.
Yeah. It's not even worth their time.
Yeah. The sign's already coming. The sign for the security thing, because we're getting a whole new security system on the house. But yeah. So talking about security, we have an idea, and I'm pretty hyped about it. So the whole way down to New Mexico when we were heading down there, I've been listening to podcasts, stories, all kind of stuff, reading a couple new books. But anyway, seems like there's been a lot of stuff come out lately to where they believe that there is now like 2 shooters for the Trump thing. And it hasn't really been confirmed on all the weapons that were used, but from the people that we watch, pretty credible people, there's been even some like guys go to the site and look at all the distances and everything like that. It's almost 99% that it was probably a 5.56 223 gun that the shooter was using, and we thought about all this stuff because there's people out here analyzing the sounds, but nobody tries to recreate the sounds. So the footage that I watched the most of, the one that was closest to the shooter, was an iPhone. So we all have iPhone. John don't have an iPhone. John's an Android gang. I have an iPhone, and what we're gonna do is we have a range, and we are going to go out there and test a certain amount of weapons from a couple different locations and see if we can reenact just the sounds. Now, granted, the buildings aren't going to be the same, but we're going to roughly be the same distance with the same kind of rifles, and we're going to bring out a couple different ones because now they're stated that there was a 5.56 gun, and there was probably another caliber that tried to shoot Trump that was like a 308 or something like that. And then obviously at the very end, there's the freaking sniper that pops the guy with like a 300 Win Mag or some junk.
Right.
So anyway, well, I'm pumped up about that because I want to just see if it really makes that much difference sound wise. Because there's a lot of people claiming now, like the first 5 shots was 5.56, the other one was 308, and just whatever. I don't know if you've watched anything about this recently.
No, not really, because some of it I'm just like, it's hard to know in a day and age where everybody's chasing stardom online.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, if you have a guy who has a background in firearms, like a military guy or whatever, maybe he's just a firearms guy, knows a lot about them, it would be easy for them to make a video on that topic that could stir up a lot of controversy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
To try and gain popularity.
Right.
So
that's why we're gonna test it.
Yes, because that's my stance on it. Like I want to know from a point of like do these people really know what they're talking about, or is it just easy for them to stir this pot?
And nobody's doing this investigation right now, pretty much. Like I think it's just run flat at this point. I don't hear anything about it anymore, and we still hardly don't know anything about the shooter. We don't know anything about the Secret Service or anything like that. We had one guy that came out, I think it was in the sheriff's department of wherever the thing was, and he said that they didn't even have comms to Secret Service. Like they didn't even have a way to get a hold of them if they did see him. And I guess the ones that did see him was not Secret Service guys. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's still one of the biggest, like, to me at least, like the biggest lack of security I've ever seen for a president. For someone to take a shot at 150 yards.
Well, I do want to preface that a little bit. Like, former president, technically he's just a guy running.
Yeah, no. I agree with that part.
So, I mean, technically you got some B team guys.
Still, though, the B team guys should be better than the A team guys and every other thing, it seems like.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but like, there's part of it that's like
staged.
No, it's talking with some other people who've had to do inter-department work. Some of that, getting that cleared, being able to talk with even just different police departments talking with each other is sometimes like a huge thing.
But why is it a huge thing though?
Because
why would it be? You're all on one team here.
I'm willing to bet there's some guy out there
who thinks they're better than everybody.
He doesn't feel like he's like, I've got to get all this set up.
You need to be fired.
This is dumb.
You need to be fired.
Yeah. But I feel like there's a lot that
Probably.
goes around. There's people who are just like,
do you know the?
I gotta fill out all this paperwork, so I'd just rather not do it.
I think they call him the Grim Reaper. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He's a black guy, got dreads, sniper.
Yeah, it's Nicholas Irving.
That's him. Yeah. He just did a podcast recently with one of my favorite podcast guys, PVD, and they were talking about the whole Trump thing. And Trump asked him. He said to Nick, he said, if you could put together a team to protect Trump, what's the likability that he would be shot until whatchamacallit. And you know what Nick said? 0%. He said there's no way in this world anybody would even get a shot off. If he could put together a team to protect Donald Trump, or whoever, I guess. Because he did say in that one video that he was part of a team that protected Hillary Clinton, and he literally said 0% chance, and that's big words. You say 0% chance that he would get harmed.
That's a big claim because you got to think there's so much stuff that you can't control. And I just watched a video with guys from EP, so Executive Protection.
Yes.
One of them worked for the United States Army overseas as an MP for like 20 years protecting foreign diplomats.
Yeah.
So, like, that's on a very high level. Then the other guy, who he was talking with, their partners, talking to the guy I watch, he worked, I think it was Secret Service for most of his career. He may have started in the FBI, possibly, something like that, but then he moved to Secret Service.
Right.
And started a long career in that field, which is actually interesting. I should send those guys a message on their video, tell them to get those guys back on and ask them what they think about the whole thing. Because these are two guys who currently run an executive protection company out of Tennessee.
Yeah.
And,
something like Blackwater or something like that, probably.
These guys aren't Blackwater, but
Blackwater is a private security group. Yeah.
a little bit different than Blackwater. These guys,
So like not as tactical.
well, they do more like I don't know what you call it, more high-level people stateside, but it's not really even diplomats or anything like that. I think they do a lot of celebrities who want to contract out.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So it's like not politicians and everything. It's like more like probably celebrity.
I think so.
Gotcha.
Just based off what I know. Maybe I'm wrong. They may be doing politicians, but it may be on a smaller level, maybe like mayors and governors, stuff like that. But either way, and they were talking about there are certain moments where you can't be 100%, and they called it I think he called it dead space.
That sounds probably right.
I think that's what he said.
Yeah.
So like, imagine you're in the vehicle, you're in control.
Right.
Okay? You've got your person in the middle of the vehicle. You've got bodyguards on either side, armed. You got people in the front, driving and directing. Most people run in a convoy, but maybe you're not. Maybe it's just one vehicle. And whenever you get to where you're going, that space, so like let's say the parking lot, so from the car to the building, that's where you're at the highest risk. So once they get inside, boom, you can probably say, 0% chance I've got. But when you're at an event that's so open like that, that is all dead space.
That's what the guy that my PBD guy. That's what he said. He said you could still guarantee that at an outside facility. He says you give me 10 guys that's on the same level that I am, it's 0%. There's no way it's happening. He said you have my 10 guys, and then you let me have comms to all the public cops and everything that's around. He said there's 0% chance. And I was just like, I was dumbfounded by that claim. I was like,
that's impossible. I just want to say that. That's impossible.
I'm just telling you what Nick says.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, 0%, there's got to be at least a 1% chance something happens.
It's crazy. I mean, it's wild. And I remember the guy, PBD, he's a big numbers guy. He was like, what would it take to get someone like you guys to be able to do this? And he was like, I know people that would do it for free. He was like, no, nobody likes to ask us. He was like, he did it for Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, I think it was the other one. And he was like, I would do it. He was like, just nobody asked us to do it. And he goes, he said something like, he's like, I can't confidently say that I'm still doing military stuff right now. Can't confidently say that. But he was like, I can't say that I'm not doing it either. He was like, I'm just kind of hanging out. But yeah, he was trying to break down the numbers for it. He was like, what's a regular paycheck for like a private guy? Like if he wanted to hire guys like you to do his security or something like that. And I think he said it was like from like now to November, it was like $1,500 a day. I think is what it was, and that's not including the weapons and all this other stuff too.
Right.
But anyway, he tallied it up, all the prices for 10 guys, $1,500 a day or whatever, and it was like not anything Donald Trump could definitely not pay for it.
Right.
Like, and I'm sure Tim Kennedy would do that too. I'm sure he'd probably be all about it.
I was thinking of something else. Something else popped in my head when you said Tim Kennedy. I just remembered a different video, but go ahead.
I would love to see. I would almost bet $1,000 that if Donald Trump, because these guys are obviously voting for him. There's no way they're not. Like, they're not voting for Kamala Harris, and I would think not many of them want to vote for RFK just because his stance on some of the gun things.
Right.
If these are really, really high gun people. I would love, do you imagine seeing like Donald Trump calling up like Tim Kennedy, Mike Glover, that's Nick Guy, Grand Thumb, and just like all people like them that's definitely done stuff before, and they're like, I'm going to get together, I'm going to have a team that's unstoppable.
Yeah, but you got to think, a lot of the guys, so I did a little research on this because I was curious. To get a
$1,500 a day
get
until
a job
November
as private security. Now, but we're not talking about private security. We're talking about, like, these guys were Secret Service guys.
Are you asking me, or what are you?
No, I'm saying that's what they said. Like, the people who were protecting
Gotcha.
And so,
yeah, they're Secret Service.
So, like, but on the private security side, I've seen or heard from people getting offers from, like, all different kinds of military backgrounds.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, there was one guy who, I think he was an accountant in the Air Force.
Yeah.
And they sent him a thing and was like, hey, do you want to guard a consulate? Do you want to stand outside and guard a U.S.
Oh, we don't want none of that.
like embassy somewhere?
No, we want to hire people that's good at the job that they're about to do.
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying? He's never even...
That's what I'm saying. Don't do that.
He's never even been trained on that. But I'm saying that's what some of these private security groups do. They're like, hey, you know... And some people, they're able to draw out because there are some people who, like, want to see action. They're probably unstable to a certain degree, but they don't get to. And so they'll take a contract job because it puts them in a hostile environment.
Yeah, but the private contractors aren't calling these people. Like Blackwater's not calling people. Like, people are working for Blackwater, and then Blackwater takes them to places.
Yeah, but Blackwater does hire people. They do send out letters like, hey, you served a 20-plus career in the armed forces.
Oh, well, yeah. Do you want to come work for us?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I thought you meant
so
like... So
imagine, like, they send a guy a
they
letter.
contracted out of a contractor. No, they're the contractor working for Blackwater.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so, like, they send a guy a letter, and they're like, hey, do you want to do some work for us? But imagine it's a guy who doesn't even have a ton of experience.
Yeah, I don't think...
So I don't know what the screening process is on that.
No.
Now, some of the more high-level stuff that I have looked into...
I would think the screening process is probably not that hard. I'm saying hard as in, like, the aspect of what these guys have already come from. I'm not saying it's not, like, hard for, like, me and you. It's obviously... It's beyond hard. But, like, if say you were an accountant in the Air Force, and you didn't really know what to do after you got out of the Air Force, and Blackwater sent you a letter, said, hey, we're looking for people of this nature, would you want to come work for us? And you say yes. Even though you're working for Blackwater, I don't think they're going to be, like, giving you a gun and telling you to go protect the embassy or something like that. If you went in as an accountant, then you're an accountant contractor for Blackwater. Like,
I don't know about that. See, that was what I'm getting at, though.
I would hope they don't do that, because I had a friend of mine in college that he went off and he did contracting work in Iraq, I think it was, and he did contracting work through a private company of being an air flight attendant. That's all it was.
Right.
Like, he wasn't...
Don't get me wrong, there's all kind of jobs, but I do know a guy in particular who was looking at a contract job for guard an embassy with not a lot of background.
I would hope they would not have hired him then.
I don't know if he ever applied, but yeah, you would hope it.
Oh, but see, you just said it different though. You said he applied, so they sent out something to him, and he just said no. Or you're saying that he's trying to get with them to do it?
They sent an email out, probably like widespread, to a group of guys to see if they would get any bites.
But you knew it was to guard the embassy?
Yeah. It was a 6-month rotation, $250,000. Something crazy like that. But it was a very high risk area. It's probably war torn currently.
So, is this a contract through the military though?
No, it's a private contracting company. I don't know who it was, but
I wouldn't be okay with that.
Neither would I. Imagine you work there. Imagine you're the guy at the U.S. Embassy, like inside.
That's what I'm saying.
And your security
that's
guard.
that's literally what happened in Benghazi. Like the two guys that was protecting the Benghazi place have like never been in a firefight ever in their life, and now they're protecting whatever that one guy was that ended up dying.
Now, on the other side of that, so like I would figure that the Secret Service team has requirements. How much service, at this level have you had?
Right.
Because if you look up, we're probably gonna get flagged for this one. But if you look up the CIA's website,
yep, I'm on it all the time.
And you look up their jobs, they've got some very professional ways to say operators.
They have a very professional way of saying that we will forget your private life and we will just go into it.
Well, it's really professional, but they word it as like, look, if you want to be an operator for the CIA, these are your requirements.
Yeah, we'll let you break the law without breaking the law.
And so you have to have like so many years of like SF experience practically. That's pretty much what you have to have if you want to operate at that level for those guys. Because the stuff you're doing is in such it's like such a high risk,
right,
low reward job for you besides monetary gain. Like
so,
nobody will ever know that you did the work or.
So I believe you.
Yeah.
That's what makes this Trump thing even more of a setup than what it is. If you have to go through this much stuff to become a guy of that level,
right,
and you still let it happen, that close, what's the word? The level of ignorance seems way too low to be possible for a team that's like that.
Yeah, but.
Okay, John, also, you remember this. The Secret Service lady said that there was nobody on that roof that the shooter was on because it was too sloped. This is live. She said this. What do you even think when she says that?
I don't think they actually looked at it. They never actually looked at it.
Brother, the snipers that we had, the literally iconic picture of them is they're on a sloped roof.
I know, but what I'm saying is I don't think so. Like, there's a lot of work done like that where they go and they visit the site before the event.
Okay.
And they do all this work to have all. They were like, okay, here's everything that we need to cover at this event. And there's normally like a planning phase, especially because in presidential races like this, normally you can look up where they're going to be. So that,
right.
So like if you want to go, you could go, right?
Yeah. So you're telling me when they sat down and they set this whole thing up and they looked at the square radius of all this stuff,
yeah,
that nobody in this whole meeting looked at the thing and said the possibility of a guy being on this roof 150 meters away is zero?
That's what it seems like.
Then that's a level of ignorance that's lower than anything. Because, and I'm not even saying this bragging, me and you could do that. We were literally talking with Sam a couple days ago, going in town one day and saying, let's say something was going to happen here. Where's all the vantage points that somebody could shoot from? That's literally a high ground, like 150 meters away. And you got guys with 5 to 25 power scopes.
Yeah.
And they're not seeing that. Is it that low level of ignorance? Everybody should have been fired from that team.
You don't know that they weren't, though.
Oh, well, no, I don't, but I hope they were.
I mean, because that's.
I hope they were.
It'd be bad enough that, like, you let it happen, but then it'd be even worse, like, if they publicly shame you.
That's fine. Because they don't need to get hired in another job like that. Because two different things.
So, okay, so that's the thing, though. Like, they know.
Two different things, then. Number one is they saw the guy,
Right.
and they let it happen, they should never work for another team whatsoever. Number two, they never saw the guy. They should never work for another team ever.
Well, what about the police officers? Did you see that video?
Yeah, what about it?
There was two of them going to look for the guy on the roof.
Yeah.
And he, like, aimed at him or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And they, like,
yeah, they should be fired. Both of them.
Like, that right there. Imagine if they would have just took the mustard, or even... imagine if they just shot their guns off.
That's what I'm saying. Just dump some in the ground. I mean, it's going to bring so much attention to that area. That's
why I'm not harping too much on, particularly just like the Secret Service, because it was every team there.
I know, brother.
The local and the federal level.
I understand that, brother, but you know as well as I do that the basic police department does not have the same level of perfection that Secret Service does. Those police officers have probably never seen a guy with a gun in their life, and the Secret Service has probably killed people with guys that's had guns.
Yeah, but probably never at home.
Dude, but still, man, I just don't think it matters.
Imagine you get
see
that job and you're like, this is cake. Like nothing ever happens.
You should be fired. You're not looking in the right direction then. They obviously didn't look in the right direction.
Right.
Or they did and someone told them not to shoot.
I don't know. I feel like it might be a lackadaisical problem. People who just don't take it serious.
Then Trump needs to get people that do take it serious. Because I just don't. I would like to think it was a level of ignorance and it wasn't somebody that's corrupt telling people no.
Right.
But you have top tier guys that jack this up.
Yeah, but that's like saying nobody can ever make a mistake.
Bro, that's a super high mistake. If you see a truck coming to you in the other lane, you ain't going to try to pass if you see the truck coming at you.
Right, but people still do that and they die in car accidents.
I hate that for him. Level of ignorance is high. What else you call it?
But he thought he was going to make it.
There's no thought that you're going to make it in this scenario, though. It's rather you never saw the thing, or you saw it and you just didn't do anything about it. What other thing could it be besides those two?
Like I said, they were just hanging out. Or like it's.
But okay, what does hanging out mean though?
They're just like, hey man, it's another rally.
Okay.
Let's just look professional.
So you're gonna say they never saw the guy?
Yeah, like they're just up there talking to each other. They weren't actually like.
Yeah, they ought to be fired.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah,
I'm just telling you, like,
that's not a top tier guy. Unless now there's a good chance DEI goes on. There's a good chance they might just hire a bunch of Joe Blows off the street. I don't know, but and if you're one of the guys that sees the guy and they tell him not to shoot, dude, don't be evil. Do the right thing. Don't just let the dude take a shot, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna.
Well, that's something else though. So stateside, it's different. Like whenever these guys go to combat zones, most of them they don't shoot anybody until they're shot at.
Okay, but you're still forgetting another fundamental of the thing. If I see a guy with a gun,
it doesn't matter. Most of the guys who go overseas don't shoot people with guns unless they're shot at.
I'm not saying shoot. Get Trump off the stage. You see a guy with an AR on a roof. Off the stage. Like it's not even a question. Like it should have not have been a just hold up, let's see what he does. And then he shoots.
So the original narrative
there's
anyway
no
was
way
that they couldn't see what he had in his hands.
You see a guy laying down on a roof with a 5 to 25 scope. How'd they see him in the end? He didn't move. He just laid there.
Whenever he poked his head up and he shot.
You're saying he got a shot off that fast, that close, without a Secret Service person seeing him?
Possibly.
Pop a head up at 150 with a red dot and try to take a shot at a head that fast?
Yeah. It's a red dot. It's not that hard.
But you
You
still
just
don't.
aim it where you want it to go.
But you still don't. There's nobody looking over that roof.
It takes a split second to peek up.
Still, dude. I mean, the only reason that I somewhat think that nobody did see him, or they just not cared to look, is because it took him after the first shots. It took it 10 seconds to hit him with the bolt gun.
Yeah.
So, but
Like imagine if you're
that's
looking
still
all the way to your left.
that's still such a level of ignorance. It's insane.
I know from the get-go. I mean, you said they should have had drones.
They should have had drones. They should have had people on that building. It's just.
I don't think they wouldn't have had people really
Look.
anywhere but maybe 2 buildings if they would have had a drone. That right there would have solved most of their problems.
Or still but looking at the buildings though. That's what I'm saying. That's
You can
John,
because you can have a drone at 10,000 feet.
I have such a hard time, dude, thinking if we were there and we were just standing there like, okay, if somebody was to take a shot from somewhere, where would it be? And then we look at that building and we say, it'd probably be there. But they didn't think that. And you know what the Nick guy said? The Nick guy went in way harder than anything that I thought. He said what I would do. He said I would have pulled the truck up in the back of the parking lot and rolled down my window just enough from the back of a van and popped him at like 400 yards, he said. And he was like, but we let it, and that would be way harder because all I'd have to do is put my bag down and drive the truck off. And he goes,
Right.
and he says, but they managed to miss a guy 100 on a 150-yard roof or whatever it was. It's just crazy. But anyway, we're going to test it. And I want to see, just to hear the gun sounds. And then we'll even do a little test of our own. Now we ain't got no ballistic dummy labs or anything like
Right.
that. But we'll take your red dot and we'll put you back at 140. And I want to see how fast you can try to get a shot off under whatever we want to see. I just want to see how fast we can do it.
Okay.
Because I don't know.
I bet you can do it in 1 second.
We gotta do faster. Gotta do better.
So,
Anyways, guys, that is the pod for today. Good discussion on a couple ends. Protect your junk and keep it locked up, or it will be stolen when you're gone. And then anything else you got?
nope.
Bring back stepson advice. Those are from old videos of mine. If y'all have ever watched
I've
them,
got some advice actually.
let's hear it.
Be kind to others. You know, that's the best thing you can do. Okay? Kill them with kindness. You know, 2 wrongs don't make a right, so be good out there. And
Yeah,
build your community. That,
for sure.
That was a test right
That
there.
was shoot.
Let's go in and talk to all the neighbors.
Yeah,
So, great people. Go
Yeah.
out there, talk to them, be nice.
it was it. That's a good one. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Episode 11. Have a blessed day, and we'll see y'all on the next one.
Alrighty.